Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Sketch to See. As you can see, it's nighttime. I'm standing here on the sugar scoop with Chris Staub. You're going to hear from him today. Okay, Chris, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am from New Zealand originally. Did my training at Yachting Developments about 14 years ago. Then after that I bounced to Hong Kong and worked for another specialist electrical company there, and then started my own business.
Okay.
Back to New Zealand and then over to China.
Yes, so what is your job here principally?
My job here is electrical technician in charge of commissioning the HH 88.
Which is the vessel we're standing on.
Which is the vessel we're standing on.
And it's in the water.
It's in the water at long last.
And the lights are on too.
And the lights are on. Every light in the boat. About 120 lighting circuits are on at the moment, to be exact.
And you've tested every single one of them.
Every single one of them.
I know for a fact you have, because we found a few. There's only, one fault that we found that was on the stairs?
There was one fault, and it was a pinched lighting cable between two stair boards on the lights going up to the Flybridge. So
right.
Across that expansive lighting circuit, it's pretty good.
I think that's a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
So kudos to you and the HH team.
Cool.
But we're not just here to talk about lighting. We're here to talk about the entire electrical system of this boat, which is a pretty crazy system. And I figured I'm not even going to be able to communicate half of what's on here.
Right.
So do you want to take us through a few of
Absolutely.
the bigger parts?
Fundamentally, it's a tried and true system that's been on a lot of sailing catamarans and monohulls over the last decade. So your combination of master vault, C-zone and B&G has nothing new, and it's kind of the industry standard for this type of boat. The main difference being in boats that I've done a lot of work on between 40 and 60 feet, you've got between 4 and 6 lithium batteries, and when we jump from 60 feet to 88 feet, we're now at 16 lithium batteries.
Yes.
And I think there's 27 C-zone modules on the network, as opposed to 4 to 6 of those.
4 to 6 on like a normal
exactly.
60-foot boat.
So it's a very, in some respects, standard electrical system that's just been supersized to meet the requirements of a boat of this caliber.
Right. And so go in a little bit more detail about those little C-zone modules. What do they actually do?
So the C-zone modules basically allow you to have a single power supply going up to a cabin, and then you have a module that'll do all your inputs, outputs, and tank monitoring. So it saves a lot of time and money in the installation process, but it also future-proofs the boat. So if in the future you say, I want to add an extra reading light in this cabin, we're not pulling a cable all the way back to the main switchboard.
Right.
We're just adding a cable to that module, changing the programming, job done.
Right. So as you guys may not know, Chris has been brought in specifically for the 88, and one of the other things he's been told to do, or voluntold to do, was set up all the entertainment system as well, which is not quite.
That's an adventure that we're still yet to have.
Yes. We have some of the speakers working in some of the rooms and that sort of thing, but it's going to be the making sure all the Wi-Fi and the network switch and the NAS drive and all that stuff communicates and works the way that we all anticipate it will.
So the basic Fusion entertainment systems out of the box, so that works, but the main brunt of it we're still good to do, which is going to be great, and I'm sure there'll be another video around that.
Yeah. Yes. So as you can see, we definitely changed locations because we wanted to talk about this. Do you want to talk about a little about the solar and the generators and the rest of the system on board?
Absolutely. So there's 3 main solar banks on board, comprised of about 68, 70 odd solar panels.
Something like that, yeah.
Combined together, each bank puts out around 50 amps. And when we bought the boat out of the shed, the battery levels were about 80%. So we didn't have much room to charge, but we were pulling about 90 amps of charge just under the shade of the shed. So all indicators are that it's performing to spec. And,
what's the highest that you've seen it?
90 amps, just out of the shed.
Oh, okay.
But when we are in full sunlight, we'll be expecting to push upwards of 150 amps solar charge, which will...
That's a lot.
Yeah, which will charge the 16 lithium batteries up in around, we'll get to about 60% in a full day's sun, which is pretty good specs for a boat of this size and that sort of size battery bank. So,
right.
To answer your question about the generators, so there's 2 generators on board that are capable of outputting 100 amps each.
And they're 24 kilowatt.
Yeah, 24 kilowatts, so that equates to about 100 amps of usable power, so plenty of power to run everything on the boat. At the moment we're running off a single 50 amp supply off the dock, and we can run 2/3 of the air conditioning, or we can run this, or we can run that. But we also have the ability to parallel both generators together if we get in a situation, say if you're entertaining and you want to run all the air conditioning, you want to cook, you want
to run the air conditioning, the dive compressor, the hot tub.
We've got a load of laundry on.
And 2 loads of laundry on.
Yeah. There's plenty of power to do that.
Right.
And if we're doing that in the daytime, the solar is contributing as well. So it's really an excellent example of a boat that's off-grid capable, that can go for extended periods of time without needing to plug in or charge. And the other thing about the battery bank is the reason it's this size is predominantly for the capabilities of giving you dead ship air conditioning.
Correct.
Which gives you this mode that we go into in the evening time after the boat's been brought down to temperature, that we can turn off the generators and we can run the air conditioning through the evening and into the early hours of the morning and beyond, depending on what we've been doing for the day.
Right.
With no generators running, so it's silent.
That was the thought, was to get us through the night, and then we can pick it up in the day and do whatever it is that we needed to do.
Totally.
And there is a giant boom still sitting on these solar panels and whatnot, so
there is.
I see why we haven't hit the full,
the
full quota yet.
We haven't used enough of the battery bank, because every time we get down to the bank in the morning, the boat's already full.
Right.
And it's charging quicker than we can use any power at this stage.
Right.
But as we go further into sea trials and we start pressing the dead ship air conditioning and we start doing things like that, then we'll see the solar at its full capacity.
Beautiful. That's really exciting. What is the biggest draw of electricity on this boat?
Probably the air conditioning. The air conditioning's up there, and also the strip lighting.
What about the bow thruster?
The bow thruster is hydraulic, so...
Right, but you still need to power those pumps.
You still need to power the pumps, and the reason why it's not really... When we're talking about house loads, it's got its own bow thruster bank up here, and it's short bursts. So just like when you're pulling up the anchor, all of the hydraulics, all of the hydraulics is short bursts, so it will use a reasonable amount of power, yes, at like a quick sharp burst, but then with the solar and other charging sources on the boat, it'll get topped up again quickly.
Pretty quick.
It's kind of negligible. We won't worry too much about those loads. We're talking a bit more about the longer draw loads. I mean, the jacuzzi's got 6 kilowatts of heating elements. We're yet to test the engine heating on that, which is an awesome feature.
Right.
The vision is, as the boat is motoring into a bay, that you think, right, this is going to be an awesome bay to have a swim. So the jacuzzi gets filled, gets heated by the engines, and by the time you park up, it's up to temperature.
And that's just free energy. That's parasitic energy from the exhaust. The exhaust goes through the domestic hot tanks, and that's
it's an excellent way of using that engine power to A, charge the batteries, B, heat the jacuzzi, C, get you to where you want to go. Win, win, win.
Yeah, all of these things were things that we really tried to think about when we were designing the boat. So I'm really happy to hear that an expert such as yourself has the ability to say, yeah, you did the right thing here, or this was done.
I mean, it's a sailboat, so we want to limit running the engines to as minimum as possible, but when they are being run, why not get the most out of them?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree, and that was the thought. Let's take a quick walk upstairs and go check out the Fly and some of the helm station stuff.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, as you see, we jumped up to the Fly, and you want to tell us where we're standing and what we're doing up here?
So this is the heart of the operation, where everything happens. We have 4 of the biggest B&G displays available, MFDs available in the range. That are fully integrated with the C-Zone system. So basically from these screens you can monitor and control the boat and see anything you want to see, plus your standard B&G functions.
Nice. And the main C-Zone screen is up here, and I believe you've been playing with that with a laptop, but the way you do that, you plug into the side of the boat with your laptop with a, Ethernet cord, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it plugs in with the USB cord through the ports over here, but the reason we have the standalone C-Zone screen is a redundancy point of view, so that if the B&G network has a problem or these screens go down, you've still got a main place to control it. So you can kind of think of the C-Zone screen as your traditional switchboard. That's what it replaces.
And C-Zone obviously has a built-in redundancy itself of individual fuses for all the circuits and everything.
So if the C-Zone network goes down and you want to turn on a circuit, you just find the C-Zone module that you want to turn on, and you move the blade fuse from automatic to manual, and that will turn on the circuit. So
got it. It will turn it on, or it will put it to a switch control?
It will turn it on, so it'll turn on each individual circuit. So you can control it manually by moving blade fuses or through the network.
Ah, very interesting. Is there anything else up here you wanted to talk about?
So we're yet to commission the communication systems. They are on the bucket list of what we need to do. Obviously with the mast going in recently, the antennas need to go on the top, and we need to work through the setup and the registration of different MMSI numbers.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. Speaking of mast, where are you on the whole lightning protection system debate?
Do you really want to put this on video? So, to speak transparently, I am probably the biggest skeptic of lightning protection systems.
Correct.
Up until I started working on this project, and the Denteco range was put in front of me to do some research on. They have some pretty strong evidence backing their research and what they've done with proven installations of lightning protection across cell towers for up to 17 years, I think is their longest one.
Oh wow.
And you know, that particular installation has had no direct lightning strikes within 17 years, and outside of a 100-meter radius, there's been 1,600 lightning strikes recorded. So fair to say that it's either extremely lucky or it's some sort of internet made up thing, or it's doing what it says it's going to do. And the fact that your insurance company and a number of insurance companies have come on board and said, we will give you discounts on your policies if you install these things, it's kind of a win-win situation.
It pays for itself.
It pays for itself, whether it works or not. Time will tell. Time will tell. Give me another opportunity to have a video in 5 years' time, and I'll have some.
We'll do this again.
Exactly. I'll be able to tell you exactly what I think. But I think it's, you know, if you're talking about the value of the boat versus the cost of installing these, I think it's a worthwhile investment at this stage. Absolutely.
I wholeheartedly agree. One lightning strike, and it could take out this entire beautiful spaceship.
If it saves you from one lightning strike,
it's already paid for itself. Probably like 30 times.
Oh yeah. I mean, the last lightning strike I worked on was a McConaughey 60 that got hit, and that was 3 months of rewiring plus a new mast, every piece of electronic equipment replaced. So
that's exhausting.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd much rather avoid that.
Totally.
Sorry, before I interrupted you, you were speaking. The mast had just gone on, and then
so now the mast's in place, we can finish off the wiring of the antennas. We've obviously got our GPS antennas, our PEPWave antennas for our Wi-Fi. We've got our VHF, a KVH. So all of that side of things needs to be commissioned. But at the moment, the number one priority, if you were here with us in China, you would realize was turning on the air conditioning. So since the splash on Saturday, most of the energy of the HH team has been put into getting the air conditioning on the boat, getting the doors to close, and making sure it all runs off the shore supply.
And I will tell you, it's so much more comfortable in here than it is out there right now.
I mean, we're 28 degrees inside the Flybridge, and it feels chilly. It feels nice. Yes. It feels comfortable.
It does, compared to what's
36
outside.
Degrees outside.
Yes.
So,
and the humidity is a lot less in here too.
And the humidity, yes. So we are pretty stoked with the way the air conditioning's battling this extreme heat.
Yes.
And sitting here in the pond is kind of it's a very tough test for it. Usually we'll be sailing, we'll be moving, we'll be doing all sorts of things. We're just sitting here in the baking sun. Without the blinds in the master cabin, without a lot of finishing
So
touches.
this is as exposed as the boat's ever
It
going
is,
to be,
yeah.
right?
And we're as restricted in terms of power supply as we'll ever be.
Right.
So usually we've got 50 amps off the shore, but we'll have 200 amps off the generator.
Right. So what he means by restricted, we haven't commissioned the engines or the generators yet.
Exactly, yeah. So we're plugged into the power supply, the shore supply.
Right.
So, I mean, if it was this hot and you were somewhere in the world, you would go through and you could turn every air conditioner on max, and within a matter of maybe small hours, the boat would be down to a comfortable temperature. But we've got half of the air conditioning on.
Yeah, and people going in and out all the time.
Exactly, yeah. Every time that someone works outside, the door's open. So
so instead of just you also sail a lot.
Yes, I have done historically. I went through the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron Youth Training Program. I did 4 years of that. Yeah, match racing was my passion when I was younger. And then as I got a bit older and figured out that the balance between chasing professional sport and work kind of leaned in the favour of having to go to work unless you were exceptionally good, which I wasn't quite there. And that kind of spurred my leisure yachting experience. I'm fortunate enough, my parents always had a boat, whether it was a small yacht or a small fizz boat, and now a small launch.
Right.
And then I had my own small yacht. It's just getting out in the weekends and going sailing.
And you mentioned earlier that you worked for Yachting Development in New Zealand.
I did, yeah.
They put out quite a few big boats.
We did, yeah. So in the time I was working there, the first boat we worked on was a Warwick 100 monohull called Antares 3. And then the next kind of the project that spanned most of my apprenticeship was a Warwick 100 sailing catamaran called Q5.
Q5.
And that was a big floating platform. Yeah. Given my sailing background and my passion for going fast, working on a boat like yours that's spec to do 16, 18 knots under sail, those sort of specifications could only be dreamed of a boat like that. That was it was a big motorboat with sails. Beautiful boat, great volume and great
sail-assisted yacht.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is you look back on that project, and that project had master volt lithium batteries, C-zone digital switching, and B&G electronics, and that was 12 years ago. So.
Yeah, all of the stuff that's in this boat is obviously not the same that's in that one.
No, of course not.
Been updated
it's the new versions of it, but and that gives you the confidence that this combination of these products has been tried and tested throughout the years.
And we're not sponsored by anybody, by the way.
No, absolutely not.
Do you have any questions for me, or?
Can you drive a boat?
I can drive lots of boats.
But
this one specifically, you put me in open water, I'll happily drive this boat, and I'll happily play with all the winches and dual sail adjustments and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. Take it out of this canal.
Take it out of the small canal that we're looking at. Yeah, no, fair enough. That's Dave's job.
I leave that to the professionals. Hi. So what I mean is, we're currently on this side of the bag, in the marina. And now we have to move the boat down this canal at high tide, which we only have 2 hours to do so.
Yeah, and will you entertain the idea of operating your boat from the jacuzzi? Obviously in safe waters, in the right environment, because to me, that sounds like a pretty unique feature.
You mean sitting there with the yacht controller?
Sitting there with the yacht controller in the jacuzzi, with nobody around.
Shouldn't put that on video, but I'm sure it might happen one day or another.
Absolutely.
Just a great opportunity.
Totally.
Well, if that's it, I just want to thank you for your time today, and I know I've had to keep you late because we needed to see the boat at night and go through the lighting and everything like that. So, Chris,
absolute pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, well, that's on you. Please give me a like and subscribe and share. And if you are not already, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at sketchtosea@gmail.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.